Hey guys, welcome to another video. If you're new here, I'm Kelly, and in today's edition of my top 5 series, we are going to be talking about blushes. I have been very into blushes lately. I feel like I go through phases where like 1 minute I'm all about the lipsticks and I want all of the lipsticks. The next minute I'm all about eyeshadow palettes and I want all of the eyeshadow palettes. Then I want all of the bronzers. Right now I currently want all of the blushes. I'm very into complexion products at the moment. I have purchased a ton of new blushes in my collection recently, and I thought, you know what? Why don't I just share with you my top 5 blushes at the moment? Now, the reason why I'm saying at the moment is because as time goes on, like our preferences change, and I just feel like, you know, as I add more blushes to my collection, my thoughts may change. As the seasons change, my thoughts may change, but as of right now, these are my current go-to top 5 favorite blushes. So why don't we get into it? Let me start by telling you, these are not going to be in any particular order. They're not like ranked by my top favorite to bottom favorite or vice versa. They are just my current 5 favorites. But I will start with the one that has been in my collection the longest, and that is MAC Melba Blush. Now, you may be looking at this saying, Kelly, it doesn't even look like you've used a ton of that. You would be correct because this is a brand new one. This was a repurchase for me. I purchased my old Melba like way long ago, possibly before I even had my YouTube channel, and I tried to depot it because everybody was depotting things back then. Had a big dent taken out of it. I had it in a Z palette. I never used it because it was in a Z palette. Chunks were everywhere. The quality didn't feel the same, so I ended up decluttering it out of my collection. And at first I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna repurchase it. I have so many blushes right now. I don't need to purchase Melba again. And then the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale took place and blushes were on sale for like half off. So I picked up Melba and Mocha, and I'm very happy that I was able to get Melba in my collection again. This was one that was like a Jaclyn Hill favorite. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna swatch them all for you, and then I'll show you like a close-up on my arm at the end. I'm not the best swatcher, but I'm gonna swatch it right here on the light part of the skin. So there's Melba right there. It's like a peachy neutral blush. You will probably see a theme here. I like the peachy neutrals, and this one is one where it just kind of goes with every makeup look. Like I don't really have to think about it. So if I'm doing an eye look that's maybe a little bit more bold than my typical eye looks, which, you know, I'm not very bold anyway, but if I don't know what kind of blush will look good with my eye look, I typically go for Melba. That was the oldest one that has been in my collection, so let's just jump to the newest one to enter my collection, and that is by Vive. Vive is the brand that Jamie Genevieve started. She is a beauty YouTuber from Scotland, and I picked up the shade Pesca in her Sunset Blush. That is this bad boy right here. And I just ordered Piazza, but Piazza's not here yet. However, I have been wearing, I'm trying to like dry my hand off. I have been wearing Pesca so often. Now this one, again, is more of a peachier blush, but this one is even more peach than Melba. So you can see Melba has more of like a neutral undertone, whereas Pesca is definitely a peach. It is the lightest shade of the blushes that Jamie Genevieve has released so far. It's definitely very pigmented. I feel like the swatch looks light on my skin. That's deceiving. This is very pigmented. You need to go in with a light hand. I love that she included a mirror. But if you are someone who is into like the peachy blushes, I really do think that you would like Pesca and Melba. I tend to like blushes that are more like on the neutral shade range and like more of a neutral tone. I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a huge peach lover, but apparently 2 of them in here are peach. Now let's switch it up a little bit. Let me try to dry my hands off. Another blush that has entered my collection a little bit more recently, but I fell in love with quickly, is a Buxom blush. This is in the shade Seychelles. It's hard to say, shade Seychelles. This is the Buxom Wanderlust Primer Infused Blush in the shade Seychelles. And I have heard people talking about this on YouTube for several years. It's been on my wish list for several years. This gives you a nice satin finish. You can see it on my finger there. This one is more of a like nude shade, but you get a little bit of a sheen. I almost feel like there's a little bit of a cooler undertone, whereas with Melba and Pesca, you have more of like the warm peachy shades. And then with Seychelles, it still has a little bit of warmth, but it's almost a little bit more on the cooler toned side, and you do get a sheen. The thing I like about it though is with that sheen, there are no chunks of glitter, there are no specks of glitter. It is very long lasting, and this one I feel like you can also build it up, but it's pretty pigmented upon first application. So definitely use a fluffy brush with the last two that I talked about, with the Vive and with the Buxom blush. You want to use more of like a fluffy blush and a lighter hand because they are very pigmented. Now another blush that I can't put down is one that again I wanted for a while, and I received it for, was it for my birthday or for Christmas? But it is this Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk blush. Now the others, the last two, I was telling you, you need to be a little bit careful with application because they are super pigmented. The thing I like about this Charlotte Tilbury blush is it is buildable, but it takes a little bit of time to build up. It's a little bit more sheer than the other blushes. You do have two tones. You have a lighter tone and a deeper tone on the outside. I just typically mix them together, so that's what I'm going to do here. And you can see it's very light. It almost has more of a peach undertone, where the Seychelles had a little bit more of a mauve-y undertone. And you can see here, this one is the lightest swatch. So I typically have to go in a few times to build it up, but it gives me a very natural looking blush, a natural flush to the cheeks. And I am very into the sheens that come with the blush. I have dry skin. If you have oily skin, you might not be into a sheen. You might say, Kelly, you tell me sheen and I go the other way. But that's definitely what I'm into right now. I like the sheens. I like looking healthy and glowy because my skin is so dry and dull. So I'm a fan of these two. But the third blush, if you really want a sheen, if you really want to glow, the fifth and final blush, I said third blush, but the fifth blush that I'm going to share with you is by Melt Cosmetics, and it is in their Digital Dust Duo Blush formula. It is the shade Raw Honey. This one is going to give you the most sheen out of the four that I've talked about so far and the last two that have a sheen. This one gives you a nice natural flush. Again, I just mix them together. This one is very pigmented. Look at that swatch. It looks super pigmented. So here's the thing. Recently, I've seen people saying that they felt like this had like no pigmentation, but look, that's like the most pigmented out of all of these. This shade is absolutely stunning. It gives me a nice healthy glow. It still has warmth to it, but it has a little bit more of a pink undertone than a peach, although you can still see we have a family going on, and I feel like these five belong together. I guess I could say that I have a type. So it is a little bit on the cooler tone, but it still has some warmth to it. It looks very similar to Buxom Seychelles. Very similar. Very similar. I didn't realize that. It looks like it has a little bit more pigmentation and a little bit more shine. When it goes on the face, I would also say that it has a little bit more pigmentation and a little bit more shine. But as you can see, I am into a more like natural, neutral looking blush, as you can see here. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you some close-up swatches, and in the close-up swatches, I will tell you what each shade was, starting with the one that's closest to the wrist that I swatched first to the last. Again, the first one that I swatched was MAC Cosmetics. It was their powder blush, a matte in the shade Melba. The second was by Vive, and it is her Sunset Blush in the shade Pesca. The third blush is the Buxom Wanderlust Primer Infused Blush in the shade Seychelles. The fourth blush was the Charlotte Tilbury Swish and Glow Blusher in the shade Pillow Talk. And the last blush that I have swatched there is Raw Honey by Melt in their Digital Dust Duo Blush. But that is going to do it for this video. Those are my top 5 favorite blushes for the moment. For the time being, that is subject to change, but I just thought this would be a fun little top 5, letting you know what I'm into, finding out that I have a type, didn't really realize I did, but I would love to know what your top 5 favorite blushes are in the comments down below. So if you don't have 5, just like let me know what your favorite blush is, but if you're someone like me who's very into blushes and you have a lot, let me know your top 5 down below. Let me know, are you into the same color family as myself? Do you prefer pinks? Do you prefer more mauves? I would love to know. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and make sure you're subscribed before you go. That way I can see you in the next one. Bye.